Good evening and welcome to Talking with Tori. My message tonight is for going crazy. So first of all, thank you for your message, going crazy. And I want to share with you, I think it's a little early in your relationship to just decide to call it quits just because he's being a little hesitant to respond. Many modern relationships nowadays start out with some sort of electronic communication. And I think the reason that we do that is because it's a little easier for us to have those discussions and not have the fear of being rejected face to face. Now, with that being said, I understand why you would want to have that face-to-face interaction with this new gentleman that you're speaking with. In a textbook titled Bridges, Not Walls, a book about interpersonal communication, it explains that perception is impacted through all of our senses, including touch, taste, smell, hearing, and sight. Now, when we lose those senses, as we do in electronic communication, it's more difficult for us to really try and understand those perceptions. So I can absolutely see where you're coming from. And of course, we know that one of the most important senses is hearing, because it's important for us to not just hear the words that are being said, but hear those in fluctuations and see their person and what they're experiencing. So I can totally see where you're coming from. So today my goal is to provide you with 3 very specific recommendations. Number 1, do not make any hasty judgments. Number 2, encourage illustration of thoughts and ideas. And number 3 is to pay attention to self-disclosure. All right, so my first recommendation for you is to be very aware of the perceptions that you're portraying. Make sure that you are not just assuming things about your new work friend. He may be evading the subject of meeting face-to-face because of some other emotions that he's dealing with, maybe some past experiences that he's had. And so you want to be very careful about the way that you handle that moving forward. So really try not to make any hasty judgments about what he's thinking and why he's a little reluctant to make that in-person connection with you right now. My second recommendation is to be very mindful in the way that you read and listen to the messages that he is conveying in his texts. So one of the ways that you can do this is by having him illustrate his thoughts, having him try and kind of paint a picture for you. And one of the ways that you can do this is by asking different types of questions. Maybe you say to him, so tell me about this. Or maybe you say to him, tell me what you mean by this, or explain that a little more to me. Just getting him to really paint that picture. And this is really going to help him to feel appreciated and valued, and it's really going to help him build that connection with you. Now, the other piece of this one is to be very careful about multitasking. Make sure that when you're responding to his text, that you're very mindful about the messages that you're relaying back, that you're very focused in the same way that you would be in an in-person conversation where you don't have something else that you're trying to do while you're texting him. Just be very focused in moving forward. My third recommendation for you is to be very attentive, pay very close attention to the self-disclosure, both that he's sharing with you and also the way that he's reacting to the disclosure that you're sharing with him. In a study by Horn and Johnson in the Journal of Social Psychology, it states, women tend to self-disclose more often than men. As such, self-disclosure might be more central to women's perceived roles as partners and therefore demonstrate stronger associations with other facets of their identities compared to men. So again, here you want to just be very aware of what he's disclosing to you and how he's responding to what you're disclosing to him. As I wrap up my vlog post for this evening, there's 3 things that I want you to focus on over the next week in your communication with your new friend. First, be aware of the perceptions that you're portraying. Second, be mindful in your responses to his messages. And finally, concentrate on his reactions to your self-revelations. Good luck, and thanks for listening to Talking with Tori.